be in a minute.
Progress.
Good evening, everyone.
Hello.
Hi. John,
Sorry I'm remote tonight.
that's okay. So at 6 o'clock, we'll call this meeting to order. I have 2 board members that I expect to be coming along shortly. They're at a soccer game. I think Jimmy's coming and Beth will be along. So. Anything to say? Or we'd get started?
Jim might be a little late.
Yeah,
He's at the
I
school
mentioned that,
game,
so.
yeah.
Okay, so first item on the agenda is an update on the Styles Ave strategic plan and the presentation by Barton Judas. So thank you.
Thank you for having us. I think I've met most everybody. I'm John Condino from Barton Judas. With me, I have Kayla Kidling. We have Brian Kruger from Virginia Courier, our teaming partner. And these two are going to give you a great update tonight. And I'm going to sit down and be quiet.
Well, I actually put some slides together just so you guys have something to look at. And you also have the reports in front of you hopefully as well. And if anyone needs another copy, just let me know. Okay, so we're here to take a look at the site profile study that we put together in consultation with the committee we have worked with in the past. And we first met in the summer. So the purpose of the study is just to evaluate the potential of the Styles Ave site that the town currently owns, and potential for consolidating the town highway and I just got a little bit of a run over a timeline. We had our kickoff meeting with the committee in summer of 2023. We regrouped again in May, and then we had a final meeting about a week ago. Just kind of go over this report in its draft form. We also did a site visit when we came down in the summer as well, which was very helpful to stay right on the site. We also visited the villages, facility as well. We're looking at primarily 3 goals with consolidating these departments. Obviously an opportunity for lower operating costs and other efficiencies due to sharing one single site. And then also provide the village an opportunity to maybe develop that street site for another purpose, potentially recreational, similar to what's in the area. And then also to minimize potential adverse impacts that could be going on with kind of that storage area in the grass area. So there's a lot of background in the report that I'm not going to get into, but we did a lot of desktop research. Obviously, we took a visit out to the site. It just kind of goes through what's out there on the site, what's the potential, what are some environmental features that you might run into. I also was able to get my hands on the phase 1 report that was done for the property that was acquired by the town that's adjacent to the town highway facility right now. So if you want to read up more on that, it's in the report. I have maps, there's figures in there as well. But I'm just gonna touch base, we're gonna touch base on the proposed solutions that have come out of our meetings with the committee. And obviously the first one is no action. There could be no action taken. You know, there's cost savings with that, but you don't achieve those 3 goals that we talked about previously. Then there's alternative number 1, which is potentially just renovating the existing facilities. Alternative number 2 looks into constructing a shared salt sand storage barn and access road on the Styles Ave site. And alternative number 3 looks at a renovation of the existing town facilities and constructing a municipal barn on the site. So looking at alternative 1, which was the renovations to improve the working conditions of usage of the existing space. Obviously, some of the pros for that would be improved functionality. Some of the cons to look at, obviously, it would cost some money. You wouldn't be moving the village site, so that would eliminate any potential to renovate that site and develop it for purposes such as recreation. And it doesn't reduce the potential environmental threat to the Grass River. Brian, I don't know if you want to touch on some of the upgrades.
Yeah, so when we were doing our site investigation phase on that initial visit in December, we walked through both facilities. It seemed like the village facility has kind of grown to facilitate what they need in that building versus having a building that's set for their needs. For example, I think off the back of the building, there's been some additions so they can fit their truck boxes and whatnot there. And even one of the bays where they currently are locating kind of like a meeting area for group discussion or team meetings. That takes up one of the bay spaces. So just seemed like it was a reaction to a need versus a functionality. So some of the items that we did notice as far as the building staying the same as it is, but improvements, lighting, looking at the thermal envelope, building envelope of the existing.
The red part. Should be good now. I'll ask them.
How about now?
Yeah, I got to talk. Good.
So some of the pros with this alternative would be the cover protection of the salt and sand. That would remove what the village has over at the Lincoln Street site. And also, you know, that space that's being used for this, the salt storage and bio waste could be developed, as well. It would centralize that service. Obviously the drainage improvements, are pros. I do have a snippet there of what we have in our report, just as a preliminary cost estimate for this alternative. And it's broken down into that new, shared salt sand storage barn and then the associated site improvements. And this is kind of, you know, the site improvements, that's what's shown on the concepts. Those can be minimized as needed too. So this is, just think of it as it's a big picture. That could be limited, you know, what could be needed by the town, you know. I also included, a unit price there, kind of an approximation for, square footage for that barn. Brian, you wanna touch on anything in particular with the design?
Sure, yeah, so with the salt storage barn, we went with a facility that was big enough to handle deliveries But then, which doesn't show in the rendering, but on the floor plans that you guys have, there's basically two bays that are separated by a large concrete separation. So you have salt on one side, and then sand on the other side. And then the area inside is big enough so that you can have the trucks back into it, offload, and then vice versa, whenever they have to load up into the trucks for distribution, you'd have enough space to bring the trucks in from the village and or town and get, machine around inside there so that they can load it back up. The door overhead, I think it's like a 17-foot door, 19-foot door, so that we can accommodate a larger vehicle with the bed somewhat up, so whenever they're offloading and driving forward, they have space to do that. The sidewalls, we've got up to about 12 feet, and that allows for enough rigidity for whenever you have the pressure of the sand and the salt pushing outward, that'll keep it from falling. The nice thing about the site plan itself is, the connection of those two streets kind of literally paves the way for you to do future developments of that site if it's sought after. And I know right now we're showing this alternative one, it's just being a small storage barn, but perhaps in a phased approach of this, you might be able to start at one point and then keep working your way across the site too. So that just kind of sets the stage for, future improvements as well.
So for alternative 3, you'll notice that the shared salt sand storage barn is included in this alternative. That's kind of itemized in the cost estimate, so it could be taken away, but we wanted to just show like this could be the full build out potentially. And we did start off by presenting two versions of this alternative to the committee. One was kind of a shared building where we had the existing town barn, and then there was a core shared space, and then there was a new barn. And that shared space would have similar uses like bathrooms, kitchens, offices. It did not seem like that was kind of the route the committee wanted to go, so we focused more on this alternative where we have both of the buildings separate and they're on the same site. Again, same pros as before. And then again, another breakdown of costs, and there's some unit prices there as well. I think one of the biggest things Brian can touch on is just the bays with the barn and how those can be, either added or subtracted based on the needs.
Yeah, so we kind of based this facility off of what we saw the village's needs being, ideally then moving over to the site. I think during our last discussion in person here, it was kind of bounced around. It was like, perhaps maybe the new facility isn't necessarily the village facility, maybe it's a town facility and the village takes over the town farm that's there now. That's all logistical and we'll, however it shakes out, shakes out. But the idea behind this is having something that we could base, a price off of. And from there, as you can see where you can start taking bays away. So we based off of 14 days, maybe we don't need the full 14, we can make do with 12 as long as they're effectively and efficiently laid out. So then you can start seeing where the cost might be reduced on that overall price once you start pulling out a number of bays. So, and with the location of the barn on the site too, again, these are kind of just movable pieces once we start to dive in. If this moves forward, on the site investigation of where we can lay these out and how we best facilitate future growth and expansion. But that is like, it's not necessarily the barn right next to this future facility, maybe that has some playing for it, so.
So we kind of wrap up the report with some key next steps. Obviously, looking at the funding opportunities is going to be important. Just based on our experience, there's a couple of programs that we're aware of. There's the WQIP for salt storage. I believe that's a 25% match. Part of that's based off of priorities. I think it's really geared towards, it's a New York State DEC program, so it's geared towards water quality improvements. So there may be an opportunity there, just based off of moving that salt storage away from the Grass River and that potential there. And then another opportunity is kind of feeding off of the grant that was awarded for this study. that's the DOS, local
Local government efficiency.
efficiency program. And, you know, DOS is always looking to further fund projects that studies, you know, they funded the studies for. So that's another option, and I'm sure that, that Lee can assist with that as well, and she knows about more than I do in that category. But then further on, you know, some other steps for the town and the village to consider moving forward. You know, it's probably, we recommend that some type of a wetland delineation, be performed if, further clearing or development is anticipated on the eastern end of the site. Some of the other talks we had with the committee was potential, acquisitions of adjacent properties, maybe, to just further expand that area for more potential development. And then something Brian already touched on was just designation of each entity on the existing and municipal law, and alternate 3 is the way that, you know, we want to move forward. But, you know, primary goal of this study is to just provide you guys with some options and, just a little bit more background on the sites. That's what I heard. Does anyone have any questions?
Who would conduct the wetland, delineation? Like who?
We have a group that does that.
It's just like a study, and you take
So
off.
what it'll do, actually, you actually send a wetland, delineator, wetland scientist in there, that's certified, and we have those folks on staff. But they can map the boundaries of that wetland exactly. They do it with GPS, they map it, and then that gets submitted to both DEC and the court. So that you get a jurisdictional determination, so then you know exactly what's usable on that plot and what's not. And that actually would be, you know, recommend that highly, because then you get a good picture of what you can use, what you can't. And then, you know, may get an idea from that point to say, well, maybe some of that land to the east of the university or something would be available. No doubt wetland on that portion of the, you know, the unused portion of the lot. It's pretty wet up there, right? Stephen? Yeah. Weird.
And to elaborate on that too is, you know, when there are wetlands delineated on a property, if that land is being used for potential development, then you have to offset the lot, that the area that you're going to use and relocate those wetlands to another spot. So at was it a 1 to 2 or something?
Yeah, it's a
Ratio. It is a process, but
It's a process and it's a, you know, but it's a possibility.
Yeah, I think when we talked, the last time, one of my concerns was drainage up there. So that all falls in line with that, including, the fact that the state has been resistant to allow us to,
So our project manager, Keith, could not make it tonight due to another meeting elsewhere, but he was actually meeting with the transportation group at regional headquarters in Watertown last week. And he actually queried a couple of the folks over there. Just asked, said, you know, is this something that the DOT would be willing to discuss? And the feeling he kind of got was, well, yeah, of course we would. And even to a point where they asked, you know, who the village might have been interacting with, and we didn't at the time, but. You know, it's again, I don't think it's a closed question.
okay.
I think it's something that, certainly they would be willing to discuss.
We had a grant to address a problem that we had on the street, and we were told that we couldn't direct that
Yep.
in that way. So we can dig into it.
Sure.
I'm wondering, you know, some of the previous meetings that we had, we talked about the logistical challenges of, like expensing out sand and salt if they are shared. Is there a model where you're sharing a building but not the piles?
Sure there is somewhere. I do know that we work with a couple of other communities that do share town highway department and a village DPW department. Actually, village and town play are a good example.
Okay.
They do it well, and I believe, confirm this tonight, but I believe they also share their salt and sand together. And they've been doing that for a number of years and seems to work out pretty well for them. So we can certainly get more detail on it. It's been that way for a long time.
We've managed to figure it out with the county for salt. Whether it's fair or not, I don't know, but we seem to think we're on coming out and, we're okay, so.
Yeah, and I know some of the towns around Watertown actually use the DOT site for their salt.
Okay,
Percent of it, I don't know, everybody weighs it to the ounce, but they seem to, in the end, everybody seems happy, it seems to work.
I don't think we use as much sand as the town does. I think the town has
Probably not.
tremendous need for sand.
Yeah, I mean, they're
Compared to
totally
us.
different operations. That's certainly understandable. That's got to be taken into consideration over the
Okay.
So Mayor, are you saying that for the county, you go there for the salt, but it's one structure?
Yeah, they have a small, it's not a large bin, but, we purchase, I don't know, 400 tons of salt every year. And, we keep track, they keep track, and
So it's not
Probably
like a
by the
separate one
bucket.
for the village and a separate one for the county,
Nope.
it's all one big structure.
it's all stored in the same spot. We kind of keep count. Somebody keeps a stroke count of how many buckets of salt they've loaded on a truck. So that's how we're doing it with the county. And, if it's any more refined than that, well, we're gonna have to talk to the county and Tim.
In your experience, is there, any municipality using liquid salt?
I've seen some start to transition to that. Actually, the city of Watertown has they're, I guess I'd call it more in the, experimental stages of that, but they have been using it. And I think fairly successfully. But they still use sand and salt. We're actually doing a salt storage building for them right now.
Well, we've started to look at the, liquids also.
Yep, I know Tim had mentioned that.
So, where it goes, I don't know. There's a lot more investigation has to be done. So,
But I know the cities, they've been doing it for 2 years now. Combination of sand and salt in the liquid.
Where does the liquid come from?
They mix it,
They do it?
Yep.
Right there on site?
that's how they do it at the DOT facilities. Pretty benign. Pretty well.
more questions?
You mentioned funding sources. Kayla, what was the person that started with the W? QFD,
Water quality.
water quality.
Part of, consolidated.
Any more questions? I guess not. Well, thank you.
Thank you very
Thank you
much.
very much.
We have your report and
Yes, some extra copies over here.
Toby has his
Yeah, you
hand
give
up.
me one.
yeah, Toby, you have a question?
Oh, Toby had a question?
Sound is a little funky. I don't know whether you can hear me or not, but I wanted to raise the question of whether, I know it's early in placing things on the land, but whether a pathway has been considered to run parallel to Route 11. So that
It's
there's
on the-
actually a road connection there over to Thompson Court for future development across the St. Lawrence land. The Complete Streets Task Force has mentioned that repeatedly in consideration of this project. Wonder if it's in the hopper.
There is that on the drawings.
Both 2 and 3.
Yes,
It's on the,
Yes.
it's on the program for both, the pictures for both 2 and 3, Toby. The roadway.
Were you answering, Randy? I couldn't hear you.
Oh, I said, yes, on the plans that we were given, there is a new redundant access road on both, in both, strategic plan 2 and strategic plan 3. Already on the works. Did you hear that?
Yes, thank you.
Sorry.
Thanks, Toby. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Appreciate your time on a rainy night. Knock on wood, at least it's not snowing today.
not late.
Not gonna.
Oh, it did the other day. Oh, yeah, it's coming.
Not this week.
You wanna come? Late.
They are, they do.
Yeah, there's another,
Did,
can we get a copy for Beth? Thank you.
Oh, I thought you gave her one.
No.
Oh, not bad. Oh,
Lee got one?
okay.
Yep, we have.
Yep.
Thank you. And Tim, maybe, does Tim have a?
There's one in the drive.
I dropped it in the drive, but he can
Perfect.
have my copy too.
Perfect.
Okay, next item on the agenda,
Where's my next one? You want it for 10?
either, as long as everybody has one.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay,
next item was 6064 Main Street update. We just wanted to update the board about paving. Mary Ann, you wanna? Well, we talked about paving this year. And we put that on hold because the numbers came in quite high.
Tim brought, a couple of quotes he got, right, to the
Yeah.
building committee. And they were unexpectedly high, weren't they? So the town board felt that, that we could wait until next year and hopefully get it down, with the county helping out on that.
Yep.
So,
We just wanted to update you about that. And, as a group, as we sat here with each other. I would say the same outfit that could come up that did Minor Street Road could do that parking lot. Man, I'll tell you what, I drove that the other day. They did a
pretty nice,
job.
isn't it? Yeah, they're a very good company.
Anybody have any questions about that? So we're on hold until the spring. Okay. Number 3. Town revale. Have at it, Mary Ann. I know the village board has been very supportive of moving forward on this, so.
So the town is moving forward with doing a full reval. It is in our preliminary budget to contract with Gar Associates. Payment over a 3-year period. Our public hearing on our preliminary budget is November 4th at 6 p.m. The budget will be posted tomorrow. It's already been sent to the media. The last reval that we did was 16 years ago. So it's time. Kudos to the assessor for single-handedly updating. So we have about close to 4,000 properties. I think with her and Christy DeKay's assistant, they're, I think, close to 500 left. So they're getting all those property records updated, which has decreased the cost for the reval with GAR. This is all based upon, Eric is reviewing the contract before we sign. but it is a total of 180,000. The preliminary, discussion with the mayor is that we would pay 20,000 by the end of this year. Next year it'd be 100,000, then the following year it'll be 60,000. The village has agreed to pay a third of those costs. We do need to develop an MOU and sign off on that. So kudos to the assessor, because as Randy had said a couple of times, he's saving us a lot of money, right? City of Augsburg, contracted with GAR for, I think, 285. Potsdam is doing it right now, I think 380, something to that effect. And the cost is so high because, they have to collect all that data and update the records, whereas we don't have to do that. And so that's a lot of savings. And I couldn't be more proud of what they have done. So, you know, again, the contract is being reviewed and then we'll go from there.
You know, I'll just add to what Supervisor said. We support the program at a third. And we have to have an MOU for this added expense, but in bringing it to the board, you know, we're in for the, you know, what we do to support. Now, that 20,000, we would owe a third of that by the end of the year.
So assuming no bumps on the contract, when does it begin?
I can't hear you.
I said, assuming no bumps in the contract part, when would you expect them to start work?
January.
January?
Yeah, they have a whole timeline outlined in the contract about what needs to be done, the communications and that type of thing.
We can share that once it's approved by the town's attorney.
That would be great.
That would be great.
Yeah.
What is when will, I mean, I understand there will be a payment in 2026, but I thought I understood it would be completed in 2025. Is that incorrect?
The bulk of what they need to do is in 2025 and then it continues in the 2026 year. Yes, so,
When would the assessments change?
Oh, yeah.
for the
It's for the
2026.
2026. It will be completed for the 2026 roll.
Roll, okay.
So,
You know,
so
it-
that means the,
For us, it's,
should be 2027.
It will be
It would affect
2027
our
for
taxes in 2027.
Okay. Right, thank you.
So, you know,
what I
part,
was getting at.
I didn't.
All right.
part of the process is, you know, an informal reround, right? An informal meeting, with someone that wants to grieve and then, you know, if somebody wants to go more formal, they'll go to the bar.
Mhm.
And then if they're not happy with the bar, the next step is to go to court. So,
I did notice on our tax bills that, like our school tax bill, the most recent one, it, in the little box with all the fine print, it tells you about the equalization rate and what your property assessment would be if it were 100%. And people ought to be looking at that, because that's the realistic, that's just reality. And it's right on everybody's tax bill for them to see, so.
and we're down to 72% now.
Right, no, I
It
said,
is-
Looking at
it's a sale.
65 for next year, I think is what.
Cindy
Cindy said.
gave us some information that it looked like it was, yeah.
We did just get, from the county, all the equalization rates for, the entire county, each municipality. So I emailed that to the board, just before the meeting, so we just got that. But it's quite the range, actually.
It really is.
It really is, so.
But you can look at your tax bill and get a sense of, which I'm appreciating. I don't know how that happened, but I appreciate being able to see it.
Town board members, do you want to add anything regarding it? So, well,
any other questions?
No, I'm glad that.
Moving forward.
Yep.
Okay, we'll have an MOU to circulate here shortly, once, the contract is reviewed by the town. Next item is sustainability update. You have something that you can,
Just what we were officially our bronze, I think we announced that at our meeting, which isn't quite an achievement, not that many places in, the state have achieved that, and again, in these sort of parallel programs, achieving that in climate smart community means we get 1 point, clean energy community, so it's working, and now, just gotten a preliminary, application for a $50,000 grant because of our energy savings, which haven't commenced yet, but you're still eligible for this grant if you can spend it on outcomes or suggestions from the studies. So seems to be, it feeds into each other, so that's good. So our efforts are going on. I think we're good.
any questions?
Any other sustainability questions? I did go to the talk at St. Lawrence today about, well,
The one Eric back is.
yeah, it
Okay.
was great. And, once it really was, in 50 minutes, he really covered a lot, but he has some, tremendous slides that they're gonna share, which are mostly, graphic. So picture or whatever, it's not a lot of reading, and it really divides sort of mitigation efforts up to in what you can do at your house, what we could do in our community, and what we could do more regionally in the county. And he participated in a statewide study that just got released, a report, really comprehensive, where they broke it down by region. So the report addresses all these specific areas by region. So it's the St. Lawrence River Valley. It's not even smushing us in with the Adirondack. So it is very specific to us. So it's really going to be helpful information. So, and there is, I think everybody's seen it, but there's another talk, I guess, or forum on December 5th at 2:00 at Clarkson, 2 to 5:30 on similar issues. So I found it very informative, and I'll share more information.
One of the primary goals is education.
Yeah.
Right,
Right.
so Kathy and I are talking about meeting with the district, Canton Central Superintendent to see how we can better share about the sustainability committee and the effects of climate change and how we can keep that going. Yeah. So we're looking.
And it's focused on actionable things. That's what I was appreciative of.
Any other questions? Anything else, Mary Ann? Okay. We'll move along. Next item is, I put down hometown heroes. Mary Ann corrected me,
Well, that.
I think they're
that's
gonna
because
change the name of it.
the so. Do you want to report?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I thought you'd say that. The mayor and I were approached by, Dorothy Woods and the BFW, to do originally it was called the Hometown Heroes Banner Program. You've seen them when you drive through communities up on the telephone poles and whatnot. So Dorothy Wood has really spearheaded this, asked us to join on a committee. And it's moving forward. There was a meeting last Thursday, I believe it was. And so the new name is the Canton Township Veterans Banner Committee. And the preliminary kickoff is, if someone is interested, January, let me see, I thought it was beginning of January, if somebody's interested, this is all going to be marketed. So, they have to fill out the paperwork, with the picture and all the information regarding the person that they would like honored on a poll. And, the payments will go through the town clerk's office. Heidi has agreed to do that, for this program. So, we're looking to kick that off soon so that flags can be displayed. Like, starting, the goal was Veterans Day to Memorial Day.
Yeah.
To get them up.
Well, yeah, exactly.
It's this has been a process, for sure. So the cost would be, and even if you wanted to sponsor someone, you can sponsor, somebody that, the cost could be $200, to have the flag put up. And both, Tim and Stephen, they graciously agreed to assist with that. We did invite the Village of Rensselaer Falls to join the committee. So, the current committee is, Dave Pearson, John Coffey, Susan Huntley, Dorothy Woods, Tim, Mike, Stephen, Heidi, and myself. But really, we're like the ancillary, right? There's a core committee. They're making the decisions, they review the applications. You know, the mayor and I aren't gonna have anything to do with that. So this is a very nice, positive thing for the town and the villages. And, you know, we're even looking at the hamlets of Morley and Pirates. I think there's gonna be a lot of people interested in this. I really do. So
It'll be kicked off, this winter,
soon, we
soon.
just gotta get all the process, paperwork organized and, you know, we're gonna be coming to the town board to set up a separate bank account so that we don't commingle the funds in the clerk's office. So, then go from there.
We were, it was important that it was included the entire town. We didn't, you know, didn't want this just in the village of Canton, so.
The committee members are so excited, they've actually gone out and counted the poles on certain streets. I'm like, well, what, 300 poles in the village?
Nah,
What
they-
John said?
Yeah, we told them
300
where they
poles
can't
in the
go.
Village, but not Main Street because you can't put them on the decorative.
Right, so.
So,
There'll be more information coming out and.
One quick question I just had, and just maybe a thought. I noticed some communities that do it, you know, after a while, the banners do get tethered and whatnot. Would it be appropriate to maybe have maybe a rough timeline of maybe when, I don't want to say phase out, but either replace the banners or, you know, I don't know if that's appropriate or not, just so somebody just, or we just leave it up to the discretion of the town supervisor or the village supervisor to when we're gonna take them down, maybe at one point. You know, I'm just thinking of, you know, I just would hate for them to look tethered, you know, that's all. But
so there was a
maybe just
lot of
something to
discussion.
consider. Perfect.
They have a plan, John. Go ahead.
There's a lot of discussion about that, so it's just gonna be for a certain time frame. From
Memorial.
Memorial Day to Veterans.
Memorial Day to Veterans Day. Did I say that backwards?
Yes, you did.
All right, well, just like, whatever. So there's gonna be a certain timeline that they're gonna be taken down. And then, you know, if there's an interest to keep them up, that would be up to the committee, that the mayor and I don't have anything to do with, but up to the, Dorothy and the VFW on that whole process.
We don't want it to look like,
No,
we don't want it to look like a mess.
no. So, yeah, it's gonna be a good thing.
Any other questions from the board? Okay. Next item is public comment. Is there any public comment? Any public comment? Okay. There being none, I need a motion to go into executive session. We both have a need for executive session, jointly. So I need a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Motion to go into executive session? Second, all in favor, say aye. Aye, carried.
And then after that, the village will be doing a separate executive session. Okay. executive session. Thank you.
7:45. Wow.
You can say.
6:45, wow.
Say, holy crap, it's not the Yankees to start.
Boy, they're taking a beating online.
Well, they've only started 3 games late.
Yeah.
Oh.
You stay dry, Jim? Oh, you didn't stay dry.
No.
It's like the fifth or-
I told her,
You want me to end the meeting?
if she left, I'd leave.
Next one.
Can you not record and keep John in? So we can hear.
Let me stop.